What's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen. Get some.
It sucks being a guy, you know? There's songs I want to listen to and pump in my car I can't listen to. Like, you can see right after the show, you can go out front and see 4 women driving by listening to DMX. I'm like, damn, look at them sexy girls listening to DMX. Woo! Sexy, boy, sexy. Can you imagine seeing 4 guys roll by listening to Destiny's Child? That shit ain't sexy or nothing. You can't see no 4 dudes. All the women truly feel me. Throw your hands up at me. Hey, what's up, girl? What's up? What's up? Yeah. You know, I like Tony Braxton. You get 4 dudes trying to pick up a girl at the corner listening to Tony. Hey, what's up, girl? He wasn't man enough for me. What are you thinking? Do you know it?
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen with the Get Some podcast. You can listen to this on iTunes. Just search Gary Owen, #GetSome, or search United We Cast. You can also listen and watch on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/GaryOwenCom, and we provide visuals. And just to give everybody a heads up, I listen, and I always say I read the comments on YouTube. I really do. And a lot of people say, you got to start doing video. And I understand that. So I am going to start doing videos in the very near future. Within the next month, we're going to have videos of my podcast. But I had to build an audience first. I had never did a podcast, so I wasn't sure how all this worked. So now that I see, like, we built an audience, and I thank you guys for listening, and girls, because I know I watch a lot of podcasts because I'm in my hotel room a lot of times, and I'll just be on YouTube searching, and I'll find podcasts, and that's the whole reason there's FaceTime now. I mean, like, talking on the phone wasn't good enough, so now people want to see who they talking to, and I don't think there's anything more aggravating than being in an airport and somebody FaceTiming somebody, because there's no such thing as a whisper. I never got that. Like, why are you FaceTiming in a busy... If it's your kids and you're saying good night or good morning or how was flight, get it. We're just talking to your homeboy or friend. You're so loud. And I'm letting you know, I'm listening to your whole conversation. I'm trying to see what the other person's saying, because I'm nosy like that. I'm not going to comment on it or say anything new, but trust I'm listening. I got a lot to talk about this week, but before I do, I want to get into my stand-up dates coming up. June 7th to the 10th, I'm at Tommy T's in Pleasanton, California. That's the Bay Area. Then June 15th to the 17th, I'm in Denver, Colorado at the Denver Improv. And then June 21st, I'm in Killeen, Texas at the Killeen Activity Center. And then June 24th and 25th, I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas at the Looney Bin. And then July 7th, I'm in Alexandria, Louisiana at the Riverfront Center. So I haven't been to Louisiana in a while, because I always get people hit me up, like, when you come to New Orleans and that. This ain't New Orleans, but it's close. It's Alexandria, Louisiana. So if you want to come see me in Louisiana or around there, that's where I'll be July 7th. That's a Saturday. And it's Mardi Gras weekend, so I'm actually looking forward to it. It looks like a pretty big venue, and I've never been to Alexandria, Louisiana. And if any of you have, let me know where to eat. On the YouTube page, I'll read the comments. I did not my first podcast, but last week I did BJ Armstrong's podcast, and it just let me know I got to step my podcast game up. I'm doing this off my computer at my house or in my hotel room. You have to come into work for that podcast. They had visual, they had cameras, they had graphics. So it was interesting to me, though, because I thought I was going to go on and we were going to talk a lot of basketball, as far as like BJ's basketball. But then him and his co-host just kept asking me questions, and they kept bringing it back to stand-up. We talked sports, obviously, but a lot of it was about my stand-up. And it's something that I forget, that this is like it's an interesting world to a lot of people, because to me, it's all I know is being a stand-up, and I don't find it that interesting myself. But to an outsider looking in, I guess it really is an interesting lifestyle, an interesting line of work you choose to do. Because I had a show one time, and the guy that was opening up for me said, stand-ups, we really live like lives of assassins. You know, because whenever you watch assassins in the movies, they come into a city unannounced, and they're by themselves the whole time, and then they do the killing, and then they leave. Well, it's similar to that, because a lot of times comedians, we come into a city, we're by ourselves all day. The first time we have any human interaction with people is when we hit that stage or when we get to the comedy club or the theater. And then when the show's over, we leave. So I was like, I never thought of it like that, but it very much is like an assassin's lifestyle. But we're assassinating people with jokes and laughs. And then if you ain't funny, then you're the one that gets assassinated because you get booed. So it goes both ways. But yeah, I didn't really talk to BJ at all about like his basketball career. And I was a little fascinated by it. I mean, think about it. He played with Pippen and Jordan, and he was in 3 of the greatest NBA finals. That Lakers finals against the Bulls, that was the one that set Jordan's whole dynasty off. Basically, he did that sweet layup, that reverse layup, and I think everybody was up in the air, like, because at that point it was Pistons, Lakers, and Celtics was it, and then pretty much it ended that reign for the Lakers for a long time, and at the Celtics reign for a long time. The Pistons had somewhat of a resurgence, but Jordan took them all out with that series. And BJ was a part of it. So I'm going to get him on my podcast one day when I start having guests. Cause I listen to you guys. You guys say, Gary, you got to start having guests also. I will, but I do like the fact that I don't have to rely on anybody and I can just talk about whatever I want to talk about by myself. It's similar to when I do stand-up. You see some stand-up comics that you do a lot of music bits. And I always think that's cheating. And I did music bits in the past. I'm first to admit it. I think sometimes you first start out. But once you get to a point where you've been doing stand-up, I think 5-6 years, at that point you want to stand on your own 2 feet and just tell jokes. You shouldn't be relying on music bits. Because to me, it's not cheating, but it is cheating kind of, because the crowd's kind of laughing at the music or the song and you're at a concert. So to me, I'm like, if you look at any of the great stand-ups, the greats, nobody does music bits on HBO specials or Netflix specials or Showtime specials or Raw or Delirious or any of the Kevin Hart movies. Nobody's doing music bits. It's all your jokes. And that's what people want to know. And that's what reverberates on the television and movie screen is just the words coming out of your mouth. Because music bits never hit like you think they do when you see it on TV. They never do. I've seen a few comics do music bits and it always falls flat when you're watching it on TV. Live's different. Because like I said, you're putting on a song and people are really kind of jamming to the song. So that's what I always say about comedians, man. I understand that you're in the beginning and you're trying to find your voice and legs and stuff. But after a while, man, it should just be you and the microphone and the audience. And to me, that is just the purest form of entertainment. It's so raw. You're exposing yourself. And that's what I love about it. But when you start doing music bits, you also take the show out of your own hand because you're relying on that DJ to hit that music cue at the right time. And I've literally seen comics get mad at the DJ because he didn't hit it at the right time when he said he was going to hit it. Somehow, some comics got like 7-8 music bits in 30 minutes. I'm like, good Lord. I don't know if I should say thanks to you or the DJ. I don't know who was fire. So I think with me not having guests on my podcast, it's similar to that. I'm not worried about anybody else. All I can do is get on here, do the topics I want to talk about, and that's it. But I do want to start having guests. But like I said, I had to build the audience first, and I had to get comfortable myself doing a podcast. I've never done one before. So enough said. I'm going to talk about the Cavs, Warriors, J.R. Smith, Rosanne Barr, Tracy Morgan. But I told you guys last week, and I don't want to forget. I watched that Netflix show, Evil Genius. And I watched the first 2 episodes, and I can't wait to watch the second 2 episodes. Well, I watched all 4. It actually ended kind of anticlimactic. The first 2 episodes were much more interesting than the second 2 to me. So it still was, you watch all 4 parts, and you still don't really know what happened because everybody has died. Everybody has died. The guy obviously died that robbed the bank, that had the bomb collar, so we never got an answer out of him. The woman who was the evil genius who, we probably think she did it, was the mastermind. She's dead. And then her cohort, this guy that she supposedly did it with, now he passed away. It's like everybody's gone. It's all up for interpretation. And it reminds me of the OJ case. Like everybody kind of knows OJ did it. Everybody kind of knows Bill Cosby did it, but Bill Cosby never admitted it and OJ never admitted it. And everyone that's involved with this evil genius case, nobody really admitted it. So it is if you got a couple hours, 3-4 to kill some time, it's worth a watch. Really is. I know everybody's waiting for me to talk about the Cavs and Warriors. By the time this podcast airs, game 2 will already be played. But game 1, what sucks about it was I was on stage. I was in Dallas at the Improv in Addison, and when I got off stage, the Cavs were up by 2 with like 45 seconds left. And I was like, no way. It was 104-102 when I got off stage. And then I had to sell some T-shirts and do my meet and greet. When I got done with my meet and greet, it went into overtime. It was 107. So I go back in the green room, the game's on, and they were at commercial break. The overtime hadn't even started yet. And then I saw the overtime. So I didn't know, as I'm watching the overtime, everything that led to it. I didn't know J.R. Smith thought the game they were winning, and he tried to run the clock out. I didn't know George Hill missed a free throw that would have put the Cavs up by 1. I didn't know there was a controversial charging call that got overturned into a blocking call. LeBron. I knew none of that. I'm just watching overtime. And the way Cavs played in overtime lets me know, they're a little flat. They look deflated. We're going to see what that means. I think outside of J.R. Smith fiasco and watching all the highlights from the game, I don't think I've ever seen LeBron James play better in his whole career. And that's saying a lot. 15 years in, and he doesn't like he's slowing down. I'm like, this dude here, man. Classic case of he's got money, he's got power and everything, but he's still putting in the work. The passion's still there, man. I'm like, good Lord. Not 51, Russell Westbrook 51, where it took 51 shots. He was 19 for 31. He only missed 12 shots, and I saw him miss 2 in overtime, and one of them was a 3, just almost desperation trying to get back in the game. There's, to me, all this who's the best player right now has completely been put to rest. It ain't KD. It ain't James Harden. When James Harden, who's probably going to win the MVP next week when it gets announced, everyone's going to be looking at him with a side eye. Because they're going to be like, really? We all know who the best player in the NBA is, and this playoff run has solidified it. You put Kevin Durant on this Cleveland Cavaliers team, they lose in the first round of the playoffs. You put Steph Curry on this Cavaliers team, same thing. James Harden, I don't know if they make the playoffs with James Harden. And LeBron's got him in the NBA Finals. And here's the thing. I was watching Fox Sports, and Nick Wright put it all perfectly. He said he's on a show with Chris Carter on Fox Sports 1, and he said, if LeBron, before it goes into overtime, if he demands the ball and takes a selfish shot, and people are going to say it's selfish if he takes the last shot, then if he misses it, then we'll be like, LeBron, blah, blah, blah. They said, but the fact that he made the right basketball decision, the smart one, the one that statistics say you should do, he gives the ball to George Hill. George Hill gets fouled. How does he get rewarded? By doing the right basketball play. How he gets rewarded is George Hill misses a free throw, which happens. And his teammate, J.R. Smith, doesn't know what's going on in the game. That means he mentally is not there. If you don't know the score at that point, I don't know where your mind is. Your mind is, and I like JR. That's what sucks, man. It sucks because I like him a lot. He comes to my shows and we laugh and I text him and stuff. But your mind has to be on JR at that point and not the Cavs and Warriors. Because I think when he got that rebound and he started to dribble the ball the wrong way, he looked up at the clock and I think everything hit him at one point. Like, I'm gonna be the hero. I got the rebound. I'm around the clock. We're up 1-0. Oh shit, why is everybody looking at me? And then to make it worse was, talking about LeBron, that's how he got rewarded, was George Hill missing a free throw and J.R. Smith not knowing what the play is. So you wonder, if I'm LeBron, I'm like, nah, I'm shooting it every time. Money shots are coming to me. I've never seen an unstoppable force like LeBron in my career. When people ask LeBron or Jordan, now I'm to the point where I always said Michael Jordan, no doubt. He was number one, and I always said LeBron was 2. Now I'm like, I think LeBron's won, but I want Jordan taking the last shot is where I'm at. If you're asking me for a jump shot, I want Jordan. You know, that was hard to watch, man, watching the highlights, because I knew nothing when I was watching the overtime game. I knew nothing of JR making that play. I don't think it's as bad as the Chris Webber timeout, because the Chris Webber calling timeout, that's basically game 7 that happened. And that didn't lose them the game. They were tied. Can you imagine if they were down by 1 and he thought they were winning? Then I felt bad for LeBron because he had to answer questions. His whole press conference was about J.R. Smith. And it totally took away from one of the greatest playoff games in the history of NBA basketball in a losing effort. LeBron was like Danny Almonte from the Little League World Series about 15 years ago when he was like 16 playing with a bunch of 12-year-olds. And then he got his birth certificate that Danny Almonte, the pitcher. That's what it reminded me of. I go, remember they couldn't hit that kid? LeBron's the same way. Like, dude, why can't they stop him? You can see when he gets the ball and the way he bullies people and he backs them down, like, I've never seen it like it. Then he just comes out and shoots a 3. And let me tell the casual fans something. When you go to the YMCA, that's not an NBA three-point line. The NBA three-point line is so deep, it doesn't seem like a lot when they say like 6, 12 inches. It's crazy. When I see NBA three-point line and I start shooting, like a college three-pointer, you're like, okay, I could probably hit 5 of 10 with nobody guarding me. The NBA, I'll be happy when I hit 2 of 10. This thing's hard. I'm anxious to see how this is going to turn out. It can go either way. It can galvanize the Cavaliers in a way that it's all on LeBron how they're going to respond. If they somehow pull out game 4, game 5, then we look back on this. If somehow the Cavaliers win this series, that's the only way JR is going to be able to laugh at this. I've seen more people on my timeline that hate LeBron that finally was like, okay, I got to give him his props. I have to. There's a guy I work out with in Cincinnati, the guy that trains me. He hates the Cavs. He hates LeBron. He's always bagging on him. Even he got on his Instagram, was like, I can't stand LeBron, but I got to give props when it's due. I hate it when people say, you earned my respect. LeBron don't give a shit about your respect. Let me tell you that. So, or people say things like this, like, yeah, LeBron James went to my high school. No, you went to LeBron James high school, player. Let's get that straight right now. Man, I'm rooting for the Cavs. I thought when I got off stage, I had so much excitement. I go, no way, they're up by 2. And then when I see LeBron at 51, I was like, good Lord. You know, I want people to just think about how good LeBron is right now. Just this is the best way I can put it in that to layman's terms so everybody gets what I'm talking about. You got me, average Joe. I go to the Y, I'm average. Then you got guys that can come to the Y and dominate me. Then you got guys that in high school was good ball players that can come to the Y and dominate those guys. Then you got guys that got D1 scholarships and went to Ball State that can dominate those guys. Then you got guys that are Kentucky and Duke that can dominate the Ball State guys. Then you got guys that go to Kentucky and Duke, make it to the NBA, and are average NBA players that can dominate average Kentucky Duke players that didn't go to the NBA. Then you got the James Harden, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Chris Paul type that can dominate 9% of the NBA. Then you got LeBron that can dominate them. Like, the guy is the top of the food chain when it comes to basketball. And then we're going to criticize him and tell him what he should and shouldn't do. Man, shut up. I've always said, when you're an iconic figure like a LeBron or Jordan, wear some bullshit sometimes. And just watch how many people start wearing it. Just because it's like you. Just wait till this summer when you see all these brothers at nightclubs in these suit shorts looking like dumbasses. Watch this summer in the Hamptons at a Diddy party. Oh, my God. If I was like a LeBron or Jordan, I would just wear bullshit to see how many people did it. All right. So we got enough about the Cavs and Warriors. I could talk for an hour about it. Don't want to overkill it. All right. In other news, I mean, obviously we had the Rosanne Barr thing. I'm going to get into that in a second. But on a lesser known, just the other day, Tracy Morgan was doing an interview with vulture.com. And he sits down and immediately one of the interviewers start talking about Tiffany Haddish. And they was like, so what's it like seeing her rise and everything? And Tracy cut the guy off and goes, we're not going to go there. We're not talking about that. This is the last OG. It's the Tracy Morgan show. If you go ask about Tiffany, ask about Cedric. Ask about craft services. Ask about the other people that are hard at work on my show. When I first saw it, it came across like Tracy was jealous and, a little envious of Tiffany's rise, so to speak. When I watched the whole interview, I still feel like there's a little jealousy in Tracy Morgan, but he softened it because I think what he was saying was, he said it. He goes, on my show, there's no stars. It's everyone's the same. And we say good morning. We say thank you. He goes, I know every craft service person, every cleaning person, every grip's name on my show. It's a family. It's only we're going to succeed as a family. I think Tracy's just so blunt that what he wanted to say was, hey, we're going to talk about everybody. And it probably was one of those things where LeBron had to answer for J.R. Smith last night, where Tracy's like, yo, can we talk about me and then get into Tiffany? But my thing is this. And this is what I would tell Tracy. I know it's your show, but you know how many times I go to schools and talk and do radio interviews and I get asked about Kevin Hart, half the interview? And my thing is, I don't ever get mad. I get it. And what I've always said was when I do Think Like a Man and Think Like a Man 2 or Ride Along, 3 movies I did with Kevin Hart, I'm always like, I'm okay with answering questions about Kev and talking about him because when I go on the road, people don't see Kevin Hart and Romany Malco and Terrence J and Michael Ealy and Taraji Henson and Gabrielle Union. They're not coming to cities with me, but I'm associated with them. So when people see me, they see them. That's crazy. They when they see me coming, they're like, oh, Gary Owen, Kevin Hart, Gary Owen, Gabrielle Union, Gary Owen, Ice Cube. They see that. And people like to be associated with people that know certain people. And it's crazy because you're in people's psyche like that. But that's what I told my agent and manager and everything. I said, I don't get mad about stuff like that. I embrace it because I'm like, yo, we're all generating the same traffic to what we want to generate it to. We're generating people to go download Ride Along, download Think Like a Man, download Think Like a Man 2, which creates new fans for me, which means I sell more tickets on the road, which generates more income. So I never go the route Tracy did, but I think Tracy's probably a little fed up getting asked about Tiffany the whole time when the show was it's his show. It's the last OG. But I wouldn't have gone the route Tracy did, and I love Tracy to death, man. And it's nothing I wouldn't say to his face. But I just think, I get where his frustration probably came in and it boiled over because that was probably the 20th interview he did where he got asked about Tiffany Haddish. But I guess I'm just wired different. I would just be rolling with it. Even if I didn't like Tiffany, I'd be like, she's great on set. Because you want people to think that the show's happy and then they turn in and people like seeing happy people on TV, I think, when it comes to stuff like that. You got your reality shows where you look to see the drama. But the last OG, you want to think the cast is together and get along. We'll see what Tracy says, but I will see what Tiffany says. But I did see where Lil Rel chimed in. And he was like, this is bullshit. Tracy's always been a hater. Tiffany is the only reason that show is the success it is. Yeah. But Lil Rel, he's riding for his girl. Kind of like I rode for Will Packer. Him and Tiffany go way back and was on the Carmichael show. And he they're about to get Uncle Drew coming out together. So I get what Lil Rel's, but that's one thing you'll probably won't see in next season. You're not going to see Lil Rel on The Last OG as a guest star after that tweet. But like I said, what it reminds me of is with The Last OG and his Tracy Morgan show, and Tracy's a star in his own right. And I love Tracy, man. He's so much fun to be around. And he's the same person every time you see him. Because I guess people say you got 18 personalities. Like you're not going to act at the White House in front of Barack Obama when Barack was in office as you would hanging out with Flavor Flav at a nightclub. Those personalities are going to be different. Not Tracy Morgan. Tracy Morgan going to be the same in front of Barack and the same in front of Flavor Flav at a strip club. They're going to be the same dude. I've seen it. Tracy don't change who he is for nobody. I do think there was a little jealousy, but I also think it was more of, hey, man, this is my show. I busted my ass to get this show on the air. Can we talk about me first? And then I'll bring up Tiffany if I want to. But I think it probably wasn't vulture.com's fault. It was probably just an accumulation of everywhere time Tracy gets interviewed, he has to talk about Tiffany. But I was saying what it reminds me of is Mike and Molly, that TV show with Billy Gardell and Melissa McCarthy. When the show came together, it was Billy Gardell's show. They hire Melissa McCarthy to be his wife. And then the next year, Bridesmaid comes out. And now Melissa McCarthy is a huge star. Very similar to Tiffany Haddish. Very similar. Where Billy Gardell was like, this is my show. But now Melissa McCarthy's a star. And what I had heard from a reliable source is when you go to sitcom tapings, and they always announce the cast before the taping starts. And you'll see the cast come out, and it's always the star of the show gets announced last. So like when the Fresh Prince was on the air, Will Smith was always last. When Seinfeld was on the air, Seinfeld was always the last one to come out. Well, with Mike and Molly, first couple seasons, Billy Gardell was the last one to get announced because it was his show. Mike's the first name on there. Molly was Melissa McCarthy. Well, the show, Melissa started rising. They almost felt like, damn, we gotta have Melissa come out last because that's who's really coming to see the show get taped now. Melissa's the driving force. So when they went to renegotiate, because here's how sitcoms work. When you first get a sitcom deal, it's not a 1-year deal. It's usually like a 5-year deal. In success, you get percentage raises. But you always renegotiate if the show's a big hit. So I think like season 3 or season 4, Mike and Molly, they went in to renegotiate everybody's contract. Now, obviously, Melissa was a huge star now. She was going to get a lot more money than what her original contract was. So she goes in, renegotiates before Billy Gardell. Billy Gardell goes in, and this is what he says. He goes, hey, whatever you gave Melissa, just give me the same. We're good. And he left the room. So it was beautiful because he was like, look, I ain't trying to get more. I know she's the bigger star, but it's still my show and it's my baby. So just give me the same and we'll call it a day. I was like, that was perfect. That was perfect. You know, because at this point, everybody's making so much money. I mean, granted, I always say there's never enough money. You always want to make more. But they're in a situation where they're like, damn, 4 years ago, I didn't see myself living like this. If you're on a sitcom that goes into syndication, and you're one of the leads of that sitcom, you're kind of set for the rest of your life if you manage your money right. I mean, granted, you have to work, but you shouldn't be struggling anymore to pay bills. And if you want to buy a car or something like that, you should be able to do that at that point. So Billy was probably like, look, man, I have been just stand-up for years, just a road comic. And now here I am on a hit show. And I'm on a hit show because Melissa McCarthy has helped this become a hit show just as much as I did. So I thought that was kind of cool. He said, whatever you gave her, just give me. And I also heard that Melissa started getting introduced last. And Billy was like, I don't give a shit. I'm making money. My show's on the air. I'm good. Let me tell you something. I can tell you from the honest to God, if I was ever on a TV show and it was my show, my baby, and all of a sudden I get a female lead that, whether it's my daughter or my wife, that just gets in a movie, all of a sudden she's clearly the bigger star in that realm. I have no problem giving her all the due, interviewing, talking about her all the time. Because I'm just like, dude, if she's on it and we're still on the air and people are viewing in to see her, that's more money. And when I go on the road, people associate me with her. I can care less. So when I do interviews and they ask Kevin Hart, I get it. I just talk about him. Yeah, he's great. It's cool, man. We had a good time. I've known Kev since 98. It's all love. Tell some few stories about us back in the day and keep it moving. Then we'll get back to me. Oh, yeah, but I'm also at the Addison Improv in Dallas this weekend. I don't mind that stuff, you know. But I think Tracy just had enough. Like, damn, man. Can we talk about me and my show, The Last OG? But Tiffany's hot right now, man. That's going to come with it. And be thankful she's on your show. I never worked with her on a sitcom, but from what I know of her, the numerous times I've been around her and been on the road with her, she's cool, man. Tiffany's cool. She wild, she ghetto, but she's cool. She's always been cool with everybody. She's the same person now that she was, 10 years ago. She's always been the same. Solid. So, last thing I'm going to talk about is Rosanne Barr. Talking about sitcoms. I'm sure you guys heard Rosanne Barr went on Twitter and compared a black woman to Planet of the Apes. Woman that I think Jared's her last name. I don't want to give out the wrong information, but this is the thing. It's pretty simple, white people, and I've said it before. When you're talking about black people, and especially on social media or on camera, especially, I mean, you shouldn't do it anyways, but it's pretty much don't say the N-word and don't compare black people to gorilla or apes. Everything else, kind of work around. But those two things, game changes. It's just not worth it. It's like risk versus reward. Do I want this quick laugh on social media to be the person like, see, I don't give a shit what I say. I don't care. Because then Rosanne says this, and who I feel bad for is the other cast members, especially the two little kids. Because she had like a black granddaughter on the show, and she had also had a grandson. And both those kids, it was like their big TV break. And they were already picked up for season 2. They had 15 million viewers. I mean, Rosanne was in line to make like $500,000 an episode season 2. It was that much of a hit. And now it's all gone. And I've always said when comedians say something on social media or on their stand-up act, if nobody is offended and nobody says anything and they come out later and be like, I shouldn't have said that, that was wrong, that's a sincere apology. That really is. Now, if a stand-up says a joke on stage or says a tweet or Instagram that a lot of people find offensive, like Rosanne did, and they lose work because of it, and then they have a publicist and other people, and they come out with an apology after they've lost something because of it, they don't mean that apology. They don't. Rosanne's been talking reckless for a while. She's an avid Donald Trump supporter. We get that. Not all Donald Trump supporters are racist and bad people and are ignorant. Some people are just looking at it from economics, straight economics. I know a few people that voted for Donald Trump and support Donald Trump. And what they told me when I said, how can you support a dude like that? They go, dude, they said, I feel like this is somebody else talking to me. They said they feel like all politicians are dirty and shady and they all do dirty shit behind each other's backs. They said Donald's just doing it in our face. And these are black people that voted for Donald Trump. Said, I think a lot of politicians talk about black people bad and awful. They said, the bottom line is, he said he's going to bring jobs to my town. They said, that's all I heard. And they said, I could care less. I can turn the TV off. I ain't got to deal with Donald Trump on a day-to-day basis. If he brings jobs and the economy's better, I'm voting for him. These are black people that I know that voted for Donald Trump. In their mind, everybody talks like Donald Trump talks, but they do it behind black people's back and other people's back, where they're like, well, at least he's saying it to our face and not behind our back. I didn't agree or disagree. I just listened. I just kept it moving. I know 3 black people in my immediate somewhat circle that voted for Donald Trump. I'll never say who they are or anything, but it would be people that you didn't think voted for him. It is so Rosanne's an avid Donald Trump supporter, but she's one that I think a lot of these Donald Trump supporters are getting bold in what they're saying, and they don't feel like there's any repercussions because there ain't no repercussions when Trump says it. And I think it caught up with her. And especially when the head of ABC is a black woman. Good Lord, Rosanne. It's common sense, man. Listen, if any white people are listening to this podcast, you can pretty much, kidding or not kidding, you can push the envelope with a lot of things. What you can't do, you can't say the N-word around black people and to their face or anything else. And what you can't do, you can't compare black people to gorillas or apes. There's just, that crosses the line. You could lose your job and you could also get your ass kicked because of it. It ain't worth it. I guess I'm around black people so much. I don't get how that people can be that out of touch with a certain segment of society that you have to come in contact with every day. Rosanne, she lives in LA. She's been in Hollywood for years. She's had numerous black guest stars on her show. I don't know how many black people were working behind the stage, but she's come in contact with too many black people in her life to not know you can't do that. It's amazing. It's amazing how common sense, there's lack of it. Or you feel like you're above everything that, they can't do that to me. You know, it reminds me of when I see guys going to jail and they got the only God can judge me tattoo on their face or neck. I'm like, well, nah, that tattoo's false because you about to go to jail for a long time. So I guess, yeah, the judge can judge you. I say, man, every time I see that stuff or somebody says that shit, man, only God can judge me. Nah. Yeah, a lot of people do. And this ain't a black-white thing. I've seen white dudes with that tattoo. I've seen white dudes with the only God can judge me tattoo. You guys forget I'm from a trailer park. And trailer park rednecks today aren't the ones from 30 years ago where you think they're playing banjos and Deliverance. The redneck trailer park people today, pants are sagging, listening to hip-hop, White dudes calling other white dudes the N-words, tattoos everywhere. I'm like, so this, I'm not talking about black people when I say only God can judge me and you're going to jail. Trust, I ain't talking about that. So if I'm giving any advice to Tracy Morgan, I'm saying, if I'm his publicist and saying you got to spin this, you know, if anybody asks you, why did you get upset with Tiffany Haddish? I would just say, to do damage control, I would be like, this wasn't a knock on Tiffany. I love Tiffany. This is just, I feel like my other cast members aren't getting their due. And I wanted them to be recognized also. And maybe my tact was wrong. But I just want everybody's, he said it. If you watch the whole interview, he kind of said it. It was just, it started off all wrong with the, we ain't going to go there. Why don't you ask me about Cedric or craft services? You know, we're not going to go there. And it did. When I initially saw it, it came off very, very haterish and jealous. But when I saw the whole interview with Tracy, I go, okay, I think I know what he was trying to get at. And he was probably just sick of talking about Tiffany. And he's like, yo, you got me on your show. Can we talk about me? I'm interesting too. I think that's what it was, especially when you work so hard to get a show on the air. And he probably had a hand in who was cast into the show. You know, you got to have some chemistry with your lead, your co-lead. And then Rosanne Barr, probably not going to talk about you again for a while. I mean, you're in your mid-60s, which means everything you said you meant, and your show's canceled. I just feel bad for those kids on the show and the other co-stars that had nothing to do with this. And then you also got cameramen and grips and producers and directors and writers. You know, you got people scrambling for jobs now. That's what sucks. If you get a chance, watch Evil Genius on Netflix. Also, listen to BJ Armstrong's podcast. Just search me. It's on the web. Look for it on iTunes. And the Cavs and Warriors, like I said, the only way J.R. Smith gets out of this is if the Cavs win the title. And I like J.R. J.R.'s a good dude, man. I like him. He's funny. And LeBron likes him a lot, too. That's why LeBron keeps having him around. I mean, LeBron has his guys. J.R. Smith is definitely one of LeBron's dudes. You know? All right, y'all. We'll see you next week with another episode of Gary Owen Podcast. All right, y'all. Next week, Gary Owen, get some.